morning, guys. It's Crystal here at Particularly Peeler, and tonight we're giving our homemade chocolate chip cookie recipe a try. So, I brought my recipe over here so I didn't have to run to my cabinet nonstop, and it's on this handy dandy pumpkin. I have all my ingredients laid out here, and I always go ahead and do my dry and set aside first. So, you will start with, and I use a 1/4 cup measuring scoop for everything because everything can be divided into it. So you need 2 1/4 cups of flour. So let's spin this around here. These are the best little containers because you can scrape it off flat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So that's 2 1/4 cups right there of flour. I'm going to set this over here to the side. Okay, and then you need 1 teaspoon, hello teaspoon, of baking soda. I just bought the big bag because I've been using it a lot. And you just smudge that off flat. So 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 1 teaspoon of salt. And you just want to give that all a quick whisk together once you get it poured in your bowl. So let's get that all combined. And then we'll work with our wet ingredients in our big bowl. So I'm going to set this over here to the side. Well, I may set it over here to the side, right there. So we all know where it is. Okay, so in your big bowl, you need 3/4 cup of butter, which is a stick and a half. And I already went ahead and got my half a stick out. And you need unsalted butter for this. But you need to go ahead and soften it, not melt it, because that is one of the very key parts of this recipe turning out good, is this just being softened. So only microwave it about 15-second bursts until you see it start to break down. Okay, so I went ahead and I did this for 1 15-second burst and 1 10-second burst. And gave it a little bit of a break in between, but now as you can see, it's soft but not melted in your bowl, because like I said, that's a very important step. You do not want your butter or your cream cheese to be melting. And yet you heard that right, cream cheese, because that's what makes this recipe the best. But before I measure my cream cheese, I need to go ahead and measure out my sugars. So my brown sugar, I need 1 cup of. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 scoops. So there's 1 cup of that. And then my sugar, like my puppy treat bowl there, that was the biggest one they had. And sugar is something that we use a lot of for cooking. So, and then a 1/2 cup. So 1, 2. Okay, so now that I've got all of that in that bowl, I can go ahead and measure out my cream cheese, because I need a 1/4 cup of cream cheese. And my husband actually taught me to do this because he's just kind of lazy, and I've kind of ran with it since then because I get sick and tired of having to keep up with how much a quarter cup is ounce-wise. So my husband showed me to do this, and y'all don't make fun of me too bad, but I just take my block out for this recipe, and you just kind of center your scooper, and you just kind of scoop you off a quarter cup, and then you're good. So you pull it out of there, and ta-da! So then you'll put this back in your fridge. I usually stick it in a Tupperware bowl to keep it from getting bad. So I'm going to set that aside, use my handy dandy scraper, and then I need to have this softened also, not melted, just softened. So let me scoop it out of there, and then I will be good to go. Okay, so I'm going to put my quarter cup aside because I don't need it anymore. That's all the measuring you do. So quarter cup is now in the sink. I'm going to scrape some of the cream cheese off here, and I'm going to go hit this for about 15 seconds also. And I hope you like my apron. Got it at the craft fair from our school. Okay, so here I am back. My cream cheese is softened up nicely. That's 15 seconds again, like I said earlier. So I'm going to take all of what I've got in this little bowl right here, and I'll show it to you real fast. It's my brown sugar, my butter, my regular sugar, and my cream cheese, and I'm going to combine all that. And I have a mixer, and I just prefer to use my hand whisk a lot of times, because once your butter's in there, it's just as easy to do it this way. And half the time you'll have to use your thing and clean it out a little bit, but like I said, I just prefer to hand mix, so the little bit of this step doesn't really bother me, because all good things take a little bit of work. And I say that, but for Christmas I'm getting a stand mixer. We already have it picked out. So I don't know if I'll use it to make these cookies or not once we get it. I'm sure that will upset my husband. He'll probably be like, why did I buy you that? But, so I'm going to set this aside for just a second till I get my eggs added in. And I'm going to use this and kind of cream my sugars and my butters together. And it's getting mixed now, so. Okay. And once you get you a nice little ball built, I'm telling you, it's literally it's like making bread. So, once you get this all stirred together pretty good, then you will go ahead and take your eggs, and this recipe calls for 2 eggs, so 1, 2. And I have a bowl over here to the side because sometimes I like to crack them in a bowl, but it's not necessary. You're just sometimes going to get a shell. So I'm going to take and I'm going to put 1 egg in at a time, mixing it with my ingredients. And now I'm getting a little bit runnier. So in a minute I can pull my whisk back out and use it. But whenever it's still kind of dry, it's a little bit hard to mix with your whisk because your whisk just kind of sucks it up. But see, it's getting a lot more runny. Okay, time to add egg number 2. Those are both chicken eggs from our farm. We try to do all of our cooking farm fresh when we can. Sometimes our ladies slow down and we have to store-bought eggs, and we don't really care for that too much, but it's part of winter coming in, so I'm going to go ahead and mix this egg. Yeah, now it's getting nice and floopy. Okay, and then you take your vanilla and you need 1¼ teaspoon. Sorry about my phone going off. And you're just going to take a capful. Because don't you know, that's just how you're raised. You just dump a little splash of vanilla in there. You don't actually pay attention. So, I'm going to go ahead and mix this all good. And then, I'm going to scrape it off with my whisk. Because I want to be sure I get it all. And then it's time to add your dry ingredients. So, let's go ahead. I'm going to put that in my dirty bowl. And I'm going to make sure I've got all of the clumps out of here. Alright, so that's all good and runny now. So I'm going to get my dry bowl, which is right here. And you just kind of add a little at a time. And if you're stand mixing or beatering, a lot of times you'll lose some of your flour. But if you're using your whisk, you have the ability to stir it and get it where it's mainly all together already before you ever start. So, here's most of my flour. I still have a little bit left. So I'm going to go ahead and mix that set. And this recipe calls for 2¼ cups. Sometimes that's a little much. We actually have two versions. One says 2¼ and one says 2. So I mean, it just, I guess, depends on the size of your eggs when you put them in there. On whether it's going to be a little bit too much flour. But I go ahead and try to add it all. So, it doesn't bother me that bad. It just gets a little stiffer to whisk the more flour you add. But we literally make these biscuits, or not biscuits, but cookies, sorry about that, literally like once a week, pretty much. And we cannot keep ourselves out of them. I'm sure it's bad to say, but we can literally eat a whole pan in like, when it comes out of the oven. I think that's like a normal thing though, right? So I'm going to take this and I'm going to scrape my walls real quick. So I wanted to get my whisk out of there. Kind of get this a little bit more combined. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like I said, it gets a little hard to whisk toward the end because it is a little floury sometimes, depending on your egg size. But man, is that going to be tasty. So let me beat this up for just a minute, just to go ahead and get that last little bit of dough in there. Okay. And there you have it. There's your cookie dough. You're going to take your chocolate chips, and we buy the 4-cup pack instead of the 2-cup pack, but you just use 2 cups for this recipe. So I'm going to generously dump about half my container and stir them in there. Don't you know, you can never have too many chocolate chips. And if you're a nut person, by all means, throw you some nuts in here. We like to mix it up sometimes, and we'll put peanut butter chips in here. And that's actually really good. Sometimes I'm not feeling it, but a lot of times it's really good. So you'll take this and you will chill it for at least 30 minutes. And then you will bake them on 375. That is the key right there. 375, not 350, 375. And you make them for 10 to 12 minutes. Usually 10's good, and then we scoop them off and put them on a rack for them to cool. And they are just the most delicious, sucking up milkest cookies you ever had. And a lot of times we'll make it late at night, like tonight. It's literally 9 o'clock, so I usually only bake 1 pan, and then I'll throw this in a Tupperware container, and I'll save it, and I'll bake them the next day. And they really get really good and formed then because they're chilled enough. So chilling is very important, and how much you melt your dough. Or not your dough, but your cream cheese and your butter. But then you just take you a spoon and blop this stuff on the pan and bake it. And you will have one awesome cookie. So I hope you guys enjoyed this quick little throw together of some chocolate chip cookies. Give me a like, comment, share, all that good jazz. And I'm trying to think of anything else I'm supposed to say. I don't think so. So I'm going to go put these bad boys in the fridge to chill while my oven preheats. And I hope you guys have a great night. Let me know if you give these a try and what you think about them. I don't know where Stoney got this recipe. He came into our marriage with it. So we've been doing this for 7 years worth of cooking. And like I said, we make literally probably a batch a week. And they don't last. We have a cookie jar, but it stays empty. So these are definitely a lifesaver and a good eats. I hope you guys have a good night. This is Particular Peeler saying goodbye.